Hi everybody, this is Mike Celestino with Laughing Place, and I'm a little scared today because of what came in the mail. This is the Hasbro Jabba's sail barge, and it's tremendous, as you can see. I'm scared to open this thing up. I love Star Wars, I collect Star Wars stuff, but I wasn't going to buy this because it just seemed like an extravagance in every way possible. It's really expensive, it's really big. I wasn't gonna get it, but my superiors at Laughing Place have asked me to review it, and they sent it to me, and I have it. It's here. It's the biggest Star Wars toy that's ever been made, I think. It's tremendous. We're gonna open it up and see what's inside this thing. This is me for scale here, and it's just really big. Let me get something to cut this open with. Here's a cat for scale. Give you a better idea. It's also almost as big as our couch here. But let's slice this baby open. Inside the first box is another slightly smaller box. And in case you're curious how big these boxes are, I broke out the measuring tape so I can see the inside box is about 53 inches, so about 4.5 feet, roughly a little under 4.5 feet. And then the whole thing is 18 inches tall, so about 1.5 feet tall there. We're going to open up this second interior box. I am half expecting to find another smaller box inside here. If you don't know, this thing was kind of crowdsourced by Hasbro. They wanted to see if people were actually going to buy it before they made it, by HasLab. Okay, so inside this smaller box, there's like a... oh, this is cool. So they're actually, it's got the Kenner brand. Kenner being the original company that made the Star Wars toys in the 70s and 80s, and then were bought out by Hasbro, became Hasbro. But here's a look at what the box looks like inside the box. Okay, let's tilt that your way, and I'll see, make sure you can see that. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take the camera off the tripod here. And get a close look at this. This is the top of the inside box, so the third box inside. And this is Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Jabba's sail barge, aka the Khetanna, which I don't remember it being called that growing up. That might be a name that they've applied to it in recent years. I never knew that the sail barge had a name until recently. This says, gaze upon the desert sands of Tatooine from the cockpit. And there's a two of the skiff guards. And then the next image is a diorama setup of Jabba the Hutt himself, surrounded by some of the denizens of the sail barge, including a droid, some Jawas, Boba Fett, Leia in the slave outfit, C-3PO, Salacious Crumb. There's Reese, and then Yak Face back there, who they've also renamed recently in the last couple decades. There's Bosk and R2-D2 serving drinks. There's Luke Skywalker. It says, send figures plummeting through the trap door. This says, guard, forsaken, prisoners in the jail cell. Oh, okay. It's a Gomorian guard. Assemble Jabba's court of denizens was that caption there. This one says, store weapons in the armory and smuggler's hatch. And there's 2 skiff guards there as well. I think the skiff guards are named Klaatu, Barada, and Nikto, if I remember. That's kind of a tribute to the day the Earth stood still science fiction film. This says, watch out for intruders in Jabba's well-stocked galley. And there's 2 Jawas cooking up some amphibians. Or stealing them, I guess. And this has Luke fighting one of the guards. And it says, ambush opposition with hatches to main deck. Rotate the main cannon to blast away trespassers. And surprise enemies with a ship-side sneak attack. Okay, so that's the top of the interior box. I'm going to put the camera back on the tripod here and start opening this baby up even more so. Okay, this is the side of the interior box. This thing is really heavy, by the way. Here's the image of the whole sail barge on the side. It says includes yak face action figure with Power of the Force coin. You got the HasLab and Kenner logos on this. And then a depiction of what's inside this giant sail barge. There's some figures that are not included. Although it does have Jabba the Hutt figure and the yak face figure, according to the side of the box. So that's cool. Let's get this open even further. This is like Al Capone's vault of Star Wars toys. Here's the back of the box, and it's got a black and white illustration of the sail barge. And this is all this design is kind of a throwback to what the boxes looked like when they were coming out for the original trilogy. Jabba's sail barge, the Khetanna, Star Wars, the Vintage Collection. Let me see if I can take a look at the bottom before we open this up. Okay, here's the bottom of the main box, and this has 2 more images of the sail barge. One is the exterior view with the sails up there. And then one is what it looks like when you take the paneling off the side and you can see the interior. Okay, so that's the whole box. We've seen every side. Now it's time to finally look at some plastic here. I've already kind of torn the box a little bit, trying to figure out how to open it. Okay, and this is what it looks like when you first get the actual box open. And you can see the top deck of the sail barge there. With some styrofoam holding it in place. And there is a little packet saying, read before unpacking. Stop. Big stop sign. So I'm going to take their advice here and open this up and read it before we go any further. Okay, stop. Read before unpacking. It says HasLab on the back. Some tape holding it shut. Stop. Read before unpacking. And then there is a manual. Jabba's sail barge, the Khetanna. Read before unpacking. Assembly required. No tools needed. That's good. Ages 14 plus. Here we go. Unpacking. Do not hold barge by railings. The main portion of the ship is packed out in one piece. Additional pieces are stored in the accessory box beneath. Okay, I think actually it wants me to open this other big flap on the side to get at the sail barge. Now that looks more like what we're looking at here. It says, prepare a soft surface. Okay, I've got a rug ready. Remove Jabba the Hutt figure and Yak Face figure card from foam end pieces and set aside. Let's do that. Okay, here's Yak Face Star Wars, the Power of the Force Special Collector's Coin, and there's Yak Face. I think his rename was Sail to Mayor or something. The card has not been punched. That's pretty good. Yak Face Vintage Collection. There's a still from the movie. One of Jabba the Hutt's top agents, very little is known about the mysterious Sail to Mayor. There we go. Or his specific connection to the crime lord. He could often be found hanging out in Jabba's desert palace, but was for the most part a very secretive individual. A member of the Yarkora species, Sail Mare was particularly adept at getting information out of people and ingratiating himself with the likes of Jabba and other influential beings in power. And I believe this figure is exclusive to this set. So that's kind of neat. And there's the collector coin that he comes with. It says Yak Face Bounty Hunter. Okay. Then we got Jabba the Hutt in scale with the rest of the 3 3/4 inch series, I believe. And he looks similar to another Jabba toy that I have. That one doesn't have articulation in the arms like this does, so that's kind of neat. But we'll take this out of the plastic after we get the sail barge built and see where he sits in there. But that's Jabba. Pretty cool. Okay, remove center foam brace. Slide accessory box out from below barge and set aside. Tear plastic bag down middle along perforation and slide plastic away from center. This thing smells great. It smells like every toy I ever opened up, compiled into a giant mass of plastic. It's great. Carefully hold barge from underneath while gently removing plastic. With the help of your barge buddy, carefully place the barge onto the soft surface you've prepared. Well, I don't have a barge buddy, but I'm going to put my rug, my Millennium Falcon rug, where the box is now, and we'll set it on that. Okay, I've got this on the rug, and now it says to gently roll the barge away from you onto its side to begin assembly. And now it's on its side. And we're going to add the support feet, front antenna, and engine details. Find the support feet, antenna, and engine details in the accessory box. Attach support feet. Support feet must be attached prior to attaching fins. For additional support, keep one hand on the deck of the barge while attaching feet. Snap each keyed foot into place. Note, feet are removable for storage purposes. Press bottom antenna into place as shown. Press engine details into place as shown. Right, I'm going to do all that down here. Here's what the accessories box looks like upon first opening it. There's a big plastic shell. There's 2 big sails. And some other accessories. A big laser cannon, blaster cannon, some fins, and big railings and stuff. So we'll start taking all that stuff out of here. Okay, just to give you an up-close look at what I just did, I put in these 4 clear plastic stands. There's 1 in each kind of corner of the bottom. And then these little tiny pegs are what they're calling engine details, I guess. And then one other thing I added was the antenna, which sticks out of the bottom front of the sail barge. And that's what the bottom looks like completed. Let's move on to the next step. Fins and side antenna. Find fins and side antenna in the accessory box. Snap keyed port side and starboard antennas into place as shown. Side port side and starboard fins behind side mounts and snap pins into place, making sure the pins marks are facing inwards towards ship. Note, fins are intended to pivot slightly. Let's do that. Okay, so here's that step, which was actually a little trickier than it sounds. These were easy. Putting in the antenna on the sides, here, one here, and one there. But these were kind of a little tricky to slide around behind the hole where they go into and pop them into place. These are the side fins. There's one there and one on the side right there. And they both wiggle back and forth just a tiny bit. Okay, next up is the cannons. Locate the 3 cannons, 2 rail, 1 main deck in the accessory box. For main deck cannon, attach cannon on the main deck with a one-time snap. Cannon is intended to swivel and elevate. For rail cannons, attach cannons on any of the 6 ports on the deck railing. Cannons are intended to swivel and elevate. Collector's note. For those collectors who own the Star Wars The Black Series VZOM figure and cannon, there are 4 C-clip ports to connect VZOM's cannon. Figure cannon not included and not available for sale. I don't have the VZOM cannon. I don't know how you would get it if it's not available for sale. So we'll have to make do without that. Okay, to show you what I just did, here's the main deck cannon that got snapped in with one click. This is the big thing that Leia spins around when she's helping Luke to free everyone and escape from Jabba's sail barge. And this tilts up and down, and it spins around, as it should. There's also 2 side cannons that can go in any of 6 ports. This is in this one right now. It tilts up and down, spins around. But there's also one there, a hole, one there, one there, one here, and then the final one I've put the other cannon into. So there's 2 cannons, 6 holes for them to go into. You can choose whichever you like, whichever's best for your purposes, and that's the cannons. Up next is the sails. Assemble the Khetanna's legendary sails. Gather all pieces necessary for sail assembly from the accessory box. Roll out sail. Attach small braces to main horizontal beams as shown. Secure and snap main horizontal beam and V-shaped structure pieces as shown. Insert end of horizontal beam into sail pockets, slide sail tabs into the V-shaped structure piece, insert round end of anchor into V-shaped structure piece round hole, insert square end of anchor into V-shaped structure piece square hole. Makes sense to me. I'm going to do it fast motion. Here we go. Okay, here's what I just did. This was actually way more difficult than I was expecting. It took me a lot longer than I was expecting. I just kept doing the wrong thing. Maybe I wasn't reading the directions carefully enough. Maybe I'm a dummy. I'm definitely a dummy. But I feel like this should have been a little bit more clear as to how to put these things together. But I think I finally got it the way that they're supposed to be. And they certainly look really nice. These two big sails, once you have them assembled and mounted on the sail barge, they're made of a nice smooth fabric, this nice bright orange. And I think it looks great. The one weird thing that I've noticed here is that the main cannon gets blocked when you're swiveling it. It gets blocked by the support of the sail. Now it does say in here that you're supposed to remove the sails for play on the top of the sail barge, but it seems odd to me that Jabba would have his sail barge designed so that the cannon can only turn a certain amount around if the sails are up. It's kind of a bummer, but looks really cool regardless. Let's get to the rest of this. Okay, so we did this part already. Assembly sails. Once the sails are assembled, insert the upright supports into the deck mounts, insert the anchors into the holes on the side of the ship. Yeah, I was able to do that. The tough part was actually putting the sails onto the mounts. But I think once you get that figured out, you're good to go. Sails can be attached and detached at your leisure. It is recommended to remove the sails for open deck play. Okay. And then exterior panels, pop-off panels, and carefully lift panels from the bottom to remove. Remove the front panel to reveal cockpit, remove 3 side panels and back panel to reveal interior. Note, when snapping panels back into place, it is best to start with the panels at the back of the ship and move forward toward the front. Trap door. Press the button below the rail to release the trap door. Reset manually from below deck. Deck hatches. Deck hatches slide or lift open. Brake and railing. R2, where are we going? Railing piece is removable to recreate R2-D2's leap from the deck of the Khetanna. Rear shutters. Rear shutters can be pushed open from behind for added ventilation. Do not pry open shutters that do not readily open, as they are not intended to open. Interior play. Cockpit holds 2 figures. Jail shackles. Included chains and shackles can attach to the foot of the figure. Additional figures not included. Sliding jail door. Slide door back and forth to trap or release prisoners. Smuggler's hatch. Remove floor piece to reveal smuggler's hatch. Armory. Store weapons in armory as shown. Jabba's dais. Slide Jabba's dais back and forth to scan for shady denizens. And that's it. So let's open the figures up and put them in the sail barge. That seems like the next logical step to me. Okay, I have to admit I kind of peeked ahead here because I felt like I wasn't going to be able to accurately describe what I was looking at unless I knew what was coming, which is true. But I opened both the figures, took them out of the plastic, put them inside the sail barge, and took a look around. But I want to go through it now with you in detail. So I'm going to take off the paneling here one at a time. And I have to say, like, I didn't really fall in love with this thing until I saw the inside. It's just really detailed and really amazing. We're going to start all the way in the front with the cockpit. And this comes off like this. Paneling just comes right off. This is what it looks like. Look at that. There's even detail on the underside of the paneling, which you would never see if this is in its proper place. You're only going to see this if it's off. And they still put detail on there. That's the kind of thing that impresses me, and the kind of thing I'm looking forward to at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That level of detail, when that opens at Disneyland this summer, this is kind of getting me jazzed for that, because I know the same amount of thought has gone into this. Look at this cockpit. Look at the... I'm actually going to get my phone and use the light. So we kind of got a flashlight going here now. This is looking into the cockpit, and all these control panels, all these readouts. You can see, let me see if I can get the camera and the light in there at the same time. That far right readout is Jabba's palace. And then the one to its left is the sail barge with some Arabic writing there that I haven't translated yet. And there's some radar readouts, and what's on this side? Two of the same thing. So, oh no, one's the sail barge again, and one is the pit of Carcoon, where the Sarlacc monster lives. So that's neat. And then you can peer in through this doorway back into where there's even way more stuff to look at as we continue. But first we'll take a look up at the top of the deck here, where there's another little detail we haven't looked at, and that is a trap door, which opens when you press this button right here. Okay, let's take off another panel. This is where I start to geek out over this stuff, because as much as I love action figures, what I love even more is playsets, and places where the action figure can live and exist in an environment. And this is certainly a very cool looking, very detailed environment. There's the sail barge's jail. Okay. And I'm going to prop my phone up here so we have the light coming in. I'm also going to take off this next panel here, which is a big one, because I need to access this right here. You pull on this little tab, and the jail door can open all the way like that. Okay, look what's inside there. It is a dead, rotting skeleton of an Ithorian, aka Hammerhead. First appeared in the Cantina in the original Star Wars. Super gross, super macabre, but awesome. I mean, I can't complain about that. That's so neat. Then there were these two chains that came in the accessories box. I had to pop them in there, and you can chain up some other figures here in the jail. And here's that trap door that fell, and to reset that, we just push that back up like that. And there's another ring for a chain there on the wall. This Ithorian, by the way, was just in there. It didn't come separately in the accessories box or anything. It was just there, planted in the set when I opened up the paneling for the first time. I'm so impressed by that. That's a level of detail that I was not expecting, and really I appreciate it. Let's close this back up. So that's the jail. And then we move one section over, and you got the galley that we saw in the box with the little Jawas that were hanging out in here. Some assorted amphibians being hung up to be prepared to eat. And then just a little kitchen. It's got a nice little stove and sink in there. And I'm assuming water or something comes out of that spigot. And there's a grate in the floor, and I guess this is some piping back there. Lots of room in here for figures. And speaking of figures, I had the yak face set up in here, but he fell over. Here's my one complaint so far about the interior of the sail barge. There's no pegs to stand the figures up. This is another thing that I would love to see more of in this kind of playset. It's really tough to stand the figures up and have them be like reliably situated where you don't have to keep worrying about them falling over. So pegs would be great. Here's some, let's move yak face over. Here's some steps. If you think of this like a ship, like a pirate ship, these are some steps that go up to the deck, and there are panels up here. You kind of pop them open from underneath. Oh boy, the sails do get in the way if you're trying to play. But yeah, these both open on both sides where these steps come up and out. Let's see if I can get my hand under there to where they open on that side too. Yeah, look at that. Pretty cool. Okay, moving back down, there's another. Oh wait, this is supposed to be the armory. So I don't think I can take those weapons off the walls there, but they are molded. They're not like painted on here. Yeah, it's just molded into the wall. But it's still nice to have that detail back there of these various axes and the Gomorian guard type weapons. And then this is supposed to be a weapon rack here according to the instructions. You're supposed to take all your action figures, accessories, and set them up there. Just put them in that rack. And then this panel here, move him. This panel is a smuggler compartment like you see on the Millennium Falcon. So it lifts up and you can smuggle spice or whatever kind of illicit goods Jabba would be carrying. When I opened up the interior of the ship, this panel was kind of loose in here, rattling around, which I don't think was intended because there was a piece of tape on it, but it must have come loose in shipping. Here's another set of steps. It goes up both sides, but it would be really difficult to access the other side of this stairway as a human with big fingers. Maybe a child could get in there. But these steps lead to a ladder, which is right here. You can see the rungs of the ladder. Okay, so that ladder comes up to this hatch, which slides open like this. And then these two doors open, swing open like that. And that's right in front of the main cannon. So the characters can come up and down to the hold of the ship, up to the deck. But let's go back down. And I'm going to take off this next panel. Let's put yak face back here. Pop this open. Yeah. And there's Jabba, the man himself. there's a lot of cool details in Jabba's chamber as well. But the first thing I want to point out is he's got his little amplifier microphone thing that he uses to talk to Luke and the other characters when they're out on the sail barge. Right? And that's like retractable via this cable here that comes in and out of this little control panel platform that's got some dials, probably a volume control mixer on there, which is kind of funny. And Jabba sits in a little groove that's perfectly, you know, this is just a giant like pillow for him that has his exact body shape in it, like Homer Simpson's couch. Jabba just sits in that groove. And his dais slides back and forth, and it says in the book that you're supposed to be looking for people behind him, I guess, if there are more creatures or whatever hanging out back there. But the really cool detail here is this. Well, first of all, there's a Gomorian guard sculpture, kind of a bust of a Gomorian. Let's see if we can get that in focus. Yeah, close enough. There it is. So there's the Gomorian, and then underneath it is this like bas relief of Jabba's throne room with a bunch of like women around him, just like hanging on his every word, right? It's a very like Roman emperor type thing, which I think is great and hilarious. I don't know if that's in the movie. It's certainly not a detail I've ever noticed, but it's amazing. I kind of wish, this almost makes me wish they had done a Jabba's Palace set, play set in this scale with this amount of detail instead of the sail barge, because I love Jabba's Palace probably way more than the sail barge as a concept. So that would have been really cool. But I'm still so impressed by what they did here. And let's take a look at Jabba himself. He's got articulation on his arms, his hand, his elbow, and then his like midriff can spin around. His mouth doesn't move like it has in some previous versions, and there's no tongue. One of the Jabbas that I have has a little tongue that you can take out. So that's a nice detail that they didn't include this time. And then finally, this section over here, I don't know, this kind of looks like the baths or something. There's more detailing here on the side. Again, this is really neat. I actually want to look at the inside of these panels now that I noticed on the other one. So yeah, this kind of, there's like rust coloring on the inside of this panel. Let's see this one. This one just kind of has like a, almost like a wood finish with this pattern. And then the back panel, yeah, it's just, oh, look at this. There's another fixture here. It's an Ishi-Tib, I think this guy is called. It's another alien species that has a fixture. And there's a third one in here. So we had the Gomorian, and we have over here on this side is the Rancor. If I can get some light in there, you can see the Rancor has his own little relief, not a relief, but a sculpture, a fixture there on the wall in like a bronze kind of color. And then there's these dividers, which I think it's supposed to represent like baths or showers or something. These like panels with arms coming up. They're like wood and glass panels dividing these little stalls. I'm guessing they're showers. Oh, and then if you look, oh man, you can't even see this. They put in details that you can't see, but there's another of those Ishi Tib heads back. Zoom in here. It's right there behind the support column, which seems silly to me. I wonder if that was intentional or not, but yeah, okay. And that's the interior of the sail barge. Just so many cool details, and I can't wait to dig up my box of 3 3/4 inch scale Star Wars figures and find all the guys who belong in Jabba's palace and Jabba's sail barge here and put them in here, because there's so much room. I bet you could fit 50 or more figures on this thing between the top and the bottom levels, and then 2 guys in the cockpit. Probably 70 figures could go in here if you wanted, with room to spare, like looking comfortable and looking like they're supposed to be there. As to whether this thing is worth it or not, I think I would have liked to see more figures included. I think it was $500. I didn't pay for it, so I can't complain. But if I had paid the $500 to get this, I would have wanted a bunch more figures. Like, have it come with a dozen figures that all belong in the sail barge. Why not? There's some guys I think in there who have never been made as action figures, so do that. I have a Yak Face from the 90s. I'm going to take a closer look at Yak Face here while we're talking. There he is. This is a nicely detailed figure. Certainly got more articulation than the one that I've had previously. And a nice staff or force pike or whatever this is. And put him next to Jabba here. So there's Jabba and Yak Face together at last. I mean, my favorite thing about this is the little details. I never loved the sail barge. I didn't buy the sail barge when it came out in like Lego form. I think I have a micro machine of it. That's probably the closest thing to sail barge representation in my Star Wars collection. But it was never my favorite ship or vessel in Star Wars. But I do really like the amount of work that went into designing this and detailing it. Again, the cockpit. Look, even from a different angle, you get different details. There's like little pedals on the ground there. There's the steering columns and a bunch of switches and levers, and I just think it's a great set for people who love play sets and need a place to display their action figures. Now, the tricky thing is finding a place to put this thing, because it's huge. It's just tremendous with the sails on. It's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing that this exists. It's going to be highly sought after, I think. I'm going to see it at conventions being sold for $1,000, I'm sure, or more. Oh, I just realized this panel also comes off here too. So it's just an additional panel. It gets you kind of a closer look at that Rancor sculpture on the back there. Here's another detail I just noticed while putting the panels back on. Some of these, not all of them, but some of them open up. Let in some air into the sail barge, I guess. You can poke your head out or talk to people on the skiff like in the movie. That's pretty cool. And some of them are secure in place there. There's another panel that opens up there, and characters can come and go through there, I bet. And here is the Power of the Force coin that came in the packaging for the Yak Face Sailed Mare figure. It says Yak Face Bounty Hunter there. The portrait of him looks like against those panels on the sail barge. And on the back, it says Star Wars, TM Lucasfilm. A creature with, what does it say? Long facial hair, wearing a furry mantle, seen in Jabba's throne room and on the sail barge. May the Force be with you. And then lastly, this is the other side that we haven't looked at yet. I'll put the front panel back on here. But this side is pretty close to looking identical to the side we already saw, except this would be a good way to display it if you didn't want any of the seams showing of the panels that can be removed, because this side doesn't have any panels. It does have another one of these fins that moves back and forth like I showed you earlier. And it's just really well detailed. Ah, God, look at the coloring of this, how it's like uneven. I love that. It's aged in the way that Star Wars is supposed to be. And that's another thing I'm looking forward to in Galaxy's Edge, just kind of looking at the way they've artificially aged stuff, all the buildings. Here's like the thrusters in the back. I didn't put the panel back here, but here's the thrusters on the back of the ship, of the sail barge. This panel doesn't come off. Some more detailing here on the deck. But yeah, that's it. If you have the opportunity, the money, and the space, definitely pick this up. It's Jabba's sail barge. Populate it with all your action figures, because that's what I'm going to do next. Gotta hunt them down first, but it's just so cool. It's just a neat set that's very expensive and takes up a tremendous amount of space. Yeah, this is Mike Celestino from Laughing Place. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.